China is in panic mode. Chinese murder season has gone critical. Incidents of random mass knife attacks are on the rise. Frequent public mental breakdowns and revenge against society attacks are happening daily. Foreigners are being targeted in xenophobic attacks. It's all barreling out of control. So much so that the Chinese censors and propagandists cannot keep up, no matter how hard they try. I would like to show you a clip from about a week ago. In it, we have a 16-year-old girl who has suffered a complete mental breakdown due to the stress of the college entrance exams. As she is being carried through the hospital by her friend, led by a nurse, a family member of a different patient is rolling around on the floor having an emotional breakdown because they cannot afford the medical bill for their ill relative. For those of you who are confused, China, a communist country, has no free medical services and medical procedures are very expensive if you take into consideration what the average person in China earns. If you can't afford it, they will refuse to treat you or your relative. I wanted to show you this little snapshot to give you a feeling of the cracks forming in China's society right now. This is going to get even more crazy, so let's take a break and lighten the mood with a data broker rap. Deep within the corporate offices of a data broker, something is happening behind closed doors. Yeah, we know about you. More than your own mother. We're sneaky little burglars. We steal your private deets. Sell them to corporations. Then roll around in money. You cannot escape us. We're data broken bros. When you browse the internet, when you click on accept a cookie, when you sign up for some or other service in a shop, your data gets sold to data brokers, and data brokers then sell it to other people. But there is a way to get your name and personal information removed off of these lists, and that is incognito. You see, they do the fancy footwork and all the hard work for you. There are thousands of data brokers out there. And for you to go after each one and legally request for your name to be removed would be incredibly time-consuming and costly. But Incognito does it for you. You give them permission, and then they will, on your behalf, send legal letters to all of these different data brokers to get your personal data removed. If you're tired of junk mail and you want to get rid of all these targeted adverts and take your privacy back, go to incogni.com/Winston and use the code Winston to get 60% off. Protect your privacy today. Go to incogni.com/Winston and use the code Winston to take your personal data off the market. And now back to the show. I am not exaggerating here. I'm not trying to be a shock jock or overinflate the situation, but never before have I seen so many knife attacks and murders in China. It is getting out of hand. Only a few days ago, there was a random knife attack on the Shanghai metro, where a 54-year-old man randomly stabbed and seriously wounded at least 3 people who were rushed to hospital. Their condition is unknown, but having seen the footage myself, I can say for certain that at least one victim looked like they didn't make it. Remember, Shanghai is China's most sophisticated city. You know, the place you'll be going to if you ever visit China on holiday. This month, we had those 4 college professors from America attacked and stabbed in a xenophobic knife attack in a tourist area of Jilin City. They were just visiting a temple. Again, the sort of place you'll be visiting if you go on holiday in China. In Beijing, there have been more intentional random vehicular homicides where people go crazy and simply run over crowds of people on the road. Not only that, stabbings too. Beijing is also a place you'll be visiting if you go to China for a holiday as a tourist. But why then are we suddenly seeing an explosion of social media influencers shouting out as loud as they can that China is safe and America sucks and China is good? Well, it's pretty simple really. The worse it gets in China, the more China's propaganda machine has to try to hide it. It's a case of he who smelt it dealt it, and boy, does this one stink. The Chinese censorship apparatus is trying so hard to hide and downplay these incidents, but they're too frequent and too public. Even their army of shills can't deny the fact that murders are on the rise. My friends in Shanghai hadn't heard anything about the stabbings in their own subway station when I asked them. And it seemed as if the news simply wasn't going to be reported. But it seems that after a fierce battle to keep the news suppressed, the Chinese state media finally relented and released a small statement which reveals little to no details and was copied and pasted around all of the official news outlets. This one was too big to hide. Of the hundreds of stabbing and murder videos I've seen from this year alone, I could find almost no news coverage of them in all Chinese state media or media abroad. The censorship board works really, really well when it's just a husband murdering a wife or a random attack in a smaller town or city. That's why you don't hear about them. There is a reason why the US State Department warns against travel to China. It has upgraded the threat level to level 3, the second worst travel advisory level, citing arbitrary enforcement of local laws, including in relation to exit bans and the risk of wrongful detentions. The truth of the matter is that they are correct. China is not a safe place to travel to at the moment. This doesn't mean that misfortune will befall you should you decide to go. On the contrary, statistically you'll be probably fine and completely safe, especially since most tourists only go to the shiny facade cities and tourist destinations, to go and see modern cinder blocks and cement constructed to look like something of historical significance, for example. And for the most part, people will treat you well. But remember that the government keeps pushing the narrative that foreigners, and specifically Americans, are the cause of all of China's societal ills and struggles. And this translates to xenophobia and hatred. Most Chinese people can't tell the difference between an American and a Frenchman, which is why a Frenchman and his wife were attacked in the most famous shopping area of Beijing, and his wife murdered in a xenophobic attack some years back. This uptick in violent attacks couldn't have come at a worse time for China, as they're trying really hard to get companies and individuals to invest, and for people to believe the lie that China's not out to steal everybody's lunch. So what I'd like you to take from this video, as someone who truly understands China and isn't wowed by flashy lights or cheap snacks, is that China's society is under massive strain. And as someone who worked in the medical field in China, I know for a fact that China has no mental health facilities, no therapists, no psychiatrists. I'm not trying to dissuade you from visiting China, mind you, but I'm hoping to part the wool from your eyes and give you the cold hard truth of the matter. Violent outbursts and random attacks are on the rise. The economy continues to stagnate and regress. It is getting worse. By all means, go to China if you like. But if you honestly want a real China experience and don't want to keep looking over your shoulder, visit Taiwan instead. Unlike the CCP and the shills that suck their nether regions, stay awesome.